Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time.
So today, we're diving into Antonio Gramsci's Prison Notebooks. Now, this is a book written from inside a fascist prison cell, but what's incredible is that Gramsci wasn't just thinking about the physical bars and guards. No, he was trying to understand a much more powerful kind of prison, the invisible system of cultural power that shapes what we all accept as normal, as natural, as just common sense.
You know, when we think about power, our minds usually go to the obvious things, right? Laws, the police, an army. But Gramsci, from that prison cell, was focused on something way more subtle, a form of control that's actually much more powerful. And that focus led him to a really fascinating question.
And that question is really the heart of the whole thing. How is power maintained when no one is actually forcing you? I mean, think about it. Why do people so often go along with systems and social orders that might not even be in their best interest? How does a ruling group stay in charge when the vast majority isn't being directly threatened or coerced? Gramsci's answer to this puzzle was a total game changer, an idea that really redefines how we understand power itself. He argued that real, lasting control isn't just about force, it's about winning the argument. So Gramsci basically splits power into two types. On one side, you have what he called domination. And that's the stuff you can see. It's the power of the police, the military, it's rule by force. But on the other side, and this is the more powerful one, you have hegemony. Now this isn't about forcing people to obey, it's about getting them to agree. It's subtle, it's cultural, and a lot of the time, it's completely invisible. And that right there is his core idea, cultural hegemony. It's that moment when one group's worldview becomes the default setting for the whole society. It stops being an opinion and just becomes the common sense. It's kind of like the water a fish swims in, right? The fish has no idea it's even there. It's just reality. So the big question is, where does this common sense even come from? Does it just appear out of thin air? Well, Gramsci's answer is a hard no. He argued that it is actively built, piece by piece. In other words, consent is manufactured. And who are the manufacturers? Gramsci had a really broad definition for this. Intellectuals. But, and this is super important, he wasn't just talking about professors in ivory towers. For Gramsci, an intellectual is anyone who shapes how we think. We're talking teachers, journalists, artists, clergy, media personalities. They're the ones who organize and spread the ideas that eventually become our society's common sense. And then, these ideas get locked in. They're cemented and normalized through all of society's key institutions. You know, schools, religious organizations, the media. These places act like a kind of social glue, making sure that the dominant way of thinking is passed down and reinforced until it feels totally permanent and natural. So here's the process in a nutshell. Ideas get shaped by those intellectuals, they get spread through institutions, and eventually they become our common sense. That's what leads the majority to just consent to the way things are. Gramsci called this whole network civil society. And he saw it as this powerful system of trenches, defending the existing order without ever firing a single shot. Okay, I know this can feel a little abstract, so let's use a simple but really powerful metaphor to make this whole system a bit more concrete. I want you to picture a building. The political and economic systems, the government, the laws, the economy, that's the part of the building you can actually see. But all of it, rests on this huge, deep foundation. And that foundation is culture. The shape and the strength of that cultural foundation determines everything that can be built on top of it. And this brings us to the big so what. For Gramsci, culture always comes before politics because culture sets the boundaries for what we even consider politically possible. The real struggle for power, then, isn't just about winning an election. It's a struggle for hearts and minds. It is a battle to define common sense itself. And this is really Gramsci's ultimate point, and he says it perfectly himself. Lasting social change isn't just some single dramatic event. It's the end result of a long, slow war of position that's fought on the battlefield of culture. If you want to change the world, you first have to change the way people think.
For the full, long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description.
If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.